Two glasses of wine sit in front of you. Someone tells you one costs $10, the other costs $50. You take a sip of each. The $50 wine tastes noticeably better, smoother, more complex. You'd swear you could tell the difference blindfolded. Here's the strange part. The wine in both glasses is exactly the same. The real answer isn't about your taste buds at all. It's about what happens in your brain the moment a price tag enters the picture, before the wine even touches your tongue. Let that sit for a second. In 2008, the neuroscientist Antonio Rangel, along with colleagues at Caltech and Stanford, ran an experiment that captured this effect directly inside a brain scanner. Participants tasted wines while researchers told them the prices, sometimes accurately, sometimes not. The wines were identical each time, only the stated price changed. When participants believed they were drinking a more expensive wine, they reported it tasting significantly better. But the real discovery was in the scans. Activity in the medial orbitofrontal cortex, a brain region tied to experience pleasure, actually increased when the price was higher. Not their opinion, not their willingness to say something polite. Their brain's real-time pleasure response changed, based on nothing but a number. Why would a price tag change how something physically tastes? The answer connects to something researchers call price-quality inference, the assumption that cost and value are reliably linked. For most of human history, that assumption was often true. A sturdier tool cost more to make. A better-fed animal cost more to raise. Price genuinely tracked effort and quality more often than not. Your brain absorbed that pattern so deeply that it now applies the shortcut automatically, even in situations like a wine tasting, where the actual product hasn't changed at all. Have you ever bought the more expensive option for something you couldn't fully evaluate yourself? There's a second piece to this, and it comes from research by the psychologist Robert Cialdini, who spent decades studying influence and persuasion. Cialdini documented case after case where raising a product's price actually increased sales, a pattern that shouldn't make sense under traditional economics. In one now famous account, a jewelry store accidentally doubled the price of an unsellable batch of turquoise jewelry due to a staff miscommunication, and the entire inventory sold out almost immediately. Customers weren't fooled into thinking it was a different product. Their brains had simply used price as the primary signal of quality, in the total absence of any other reliable information. This reveals something important. Price-based quality judgments become strongest exactly when you have the least other information to go on. Wine tasting is a perfect storm for this. Most people can't reliably distinguish wines by chemistry alone. Rangel's later studies found that even self-described wine experts showed measurable price-driven shifts in their enjoyment, though slightly smaller than novices. Expertise reduces the effect. It doesn't eliminate it. There's a third layer, and it involves your sense of self, not just your senses. The psychologist Dan Ariely, who has spent years studying irrational financial decisions, found that price doesn't just change perceived quality. It changes how people describe their own experience afterward, and even how they remember it. In one of his studies using painkillers instead of wine, participants who believed they were taking an expensive medication reported significantly more pain relief than those told the exact same pill was cheap, even though both groups took an identical placebo. Price wasn't just shaping taste. It was shaping physical experience itself, and the story people told themselves about what had happened to their bodies. Put these three findings together, and the picture becomes clear. Rangel's brain scans show the pleasure response itself shifts with price. Cialdini's research shows this effect intensifies whenever other quality signals are missing, and Ariely's work shows the effect extends beyond taste into physical sensation and memory. None of this is about being gullible. It's your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do, using price as a trustworthy shortcut in a world where trustworthy shortcuts used to be rare and valuable. Why does this shortcut still run so strongly today, in a world flooded with fake signals and inflated prices? Because for most of human history, information was scarce and expensive to gather. There was no way to chemically analyze a barrel of wine or independently verify the craftsmanship of a tool before deciding whether it was worth trading for. Price, set by a community of buyers and sellers over time, was often the single most reliable piece of information available. Trusting it wasn't naive. It was efficient. Brains that used price as a quality signal made faster, generally better decisions than brains that tried to evaluate everything from scratch every single time. Modern marketing discovered this ancient shortcut and learned to exploit it directly, setting prices not based on production cost, but based on what price will trigger the strongest perceived value response. Your brain, still running on the old assumption that price reliably tracks quality, walks straight into it, every time, often without any conscious awareness that it's happening. So what do you actually do with a brain that tastes price instead of wine? Rangel's own research suggests the fix isn't willpower, since the effect operates below conscious control. Its structure. Blind tastings remove the price signal entirely, forcing your brain back onto actual sensory information instead of borrowed assumptions. Some sommeliers train for years specifically to override this bias, and even then, as the earlier research showed, they only reduce the effect, they don't erase it completely. Next time you reach for the more expensive option, purely because it's more expensive, pause for a second. Ask whether you actually have a way to judge the quality directly, or whether you're just trusting the price to judge it for you. That $50 wine might genuinely be better, or your brain might just be doing what it's always done, tasting a number instead of a flavor, and calling it discernment.